Let's go take a look at what the water... God, what was the water plane? Well, by undoing that reparent, I totally just crashed the editor. Damn it. Good job, editor. I was like, don't tell me the waterfalls are all fucked up. Alright, so we lost stuff there. So it's geoplane is our static mesh. Let's take a look at this geoplane piece of garbage. Alright, so we're going to need to snag this guy and throw it in our test content. I'm going to call this water plane. So we are going to want the material to just be the water material by default. By default, just like that. And we'll need to get our test water. Let's open it as a full blueprint. Let's change this. Let's reparent to just an actor. We'll add a static mesh. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Add a static mesh component. We're going to call this water surface. And the static mesh is going to be this water plane. So we just drag that in there. It's got our test water material and everything. Let's compile that, look at it in the viewport. Is that actually a square? Doesn't look like it's actually a square. Do we have an actual square then? Well, supposedly this thing is a damn square. Except it's totally not a square. Well, let's try copying this other thing, this geomush mesh or whatever. Alright, we actually do have a plain static mesh. Why don't we just copy that and just use that to begin with? How come it's all stretched out? Like, our default scene root is at 0, 0, 0. Our scale is, you know, our scale just seems like super screwed up. Like, what the hell is going on with this scale? Like, it's a like, I guess it's rendering this object. This is just weird. Like, why in the hell is this? Why is this like this? Well, let's see what we can do. I really don't understand why the viewport is all sorts of screwed up for this object though. Like, what the fuck? Like, what in the hell? Like, this object is, it's a square object. Why is this viewport Why is this viewport all sorts of jacked up? Makes no damn sense that it looks like this. Well, let's just save everything and close the editor then. I mean, sometimes... Memory references? Okay. See, there we go. Now it looks correct for no reason though. That is all sorts of screwy. So let's get it so we can actually mess with this thing then. Let's change this plane name to water plane. Alright, so for our physics presets, environment, body, or terrain? We'll just set it as terrain. Alright, functions. Construct static height map. Construct static flow field. Update dynamic flow field. Update dynamic ripples. Update obstacle influence. Alright, we're going to need our water material and our water material instance. Water material is a material. Water material instance is material instance dynamic. Alright, the water material is, this is the material for the water. It's going to be by default the water material. Alright, the construction script, we are going to want to do pretty much the same thing that we were doing with our other things. So it's an objects, water, waterfall blueprint. Go to our construction. I want to grab this. So grab our water surface and our water material. Target is a primitive component. Alright, so water surface and water material. And we're going to set our water material instance over here. Alright, let's throw some info logging in here and all that sort of stuff, just so we know what's going on. Creating water. We're going to want to set up shader variables function. Alright, cool. So, we need it just a little bit bigger. It needs to be like 100. Let's see, this would be 800. And what is the planar reflection? 960. How come we're not getting the... Oh, we need the Z to match. There we go. Alright, that is much better. Yeah, ask away, Frosty has. Anybody can ask me questions at any time. I can choose not to answer them, but I usually try to give a college try at it if you're curious about something. Is there a way to make a static mesh into foliage, such as a tree? If it's a static mesh, then you just basically just take this thing and just slap it in there. You just, if this is a static mesh, bam, you just drag it into the foliage stuff. Like, there we go. I've made this waterfall thing mesh into a piece of foliage, which I can place. And there it goes. It's not very good foliage, but there it is. So you should be able to just do that. What you cannot do is you cannot have a blueprint object and throw that into landscape stuff unless you do crazy shenanigans like I did. Like when I'm placing these mushrooms, I'm actually placing down mushroom blueprint objects because they've got, those point lights on them and stuff like that. But I did some shenanigans for that. Basically, I overrode the component class and then went and added a callback inside of C++ land, and then I basically just swap out the foliage you placed with the blueprint object instead, which makes so we can use the tools for, you know, the foliage editing tools, which are real cool in order to place stuff. Looking at a few things there. You didn't know you could just do that? Yeah, that's... Yeah, well, I don't know. The only reason I know you can actually do that is I just got frustrated and was like, I just want to add this, and just drug it over there. And it was like, oh, hell, that worked? Okay. Because if you just look at this stuff here, right, you're like, I can't add a damn foliage type. I gotta, like, add a whole thing, and it's stupid, right? So I think that was definitely one of my frustrated moments that led to discovering that you could do that. Well, I think I have to rebuild the static lighting here. I was looking at this water and it looks a little jaggy with some of the shadows. You want to share your title screen video? Well, PM me a link to the video, and I'll take a look at it, and I'll post it in there if it's okay. Because I've got it so it deletes all links. Because, you know, there are people on Twitch that aren't always on the up and up. So I'll just build the lighting real quick, and we'll see. Here we go. Yeah, I'm just not super thrilled. There's, like, it looks weird. The reflection stuff just looks... doesn't look right. I'm gonna have to take another look at it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I will... So if anybody wants to take a look at Frosty has his title screen, I linked to the quote-unquote cool part of the video. Looks like stuff's coming along pretty well. Nice. How long have you been working on your project? Thank you for following Frosty Has. It's always good to have another game developer kicking around. Maybe there are things you can teach me, because I've only been using Unreal for like 6 months. The stylized graphics? Well, this is all placeholder art too. Like, Adam hasn't gotten any art in here that's anywhere near final, so it'll be about 11 months. You stream a lot? Alright, cool. Well, maybe I should get to know you better and maybe throw you on auto host, because if you're streaming stuff all the time, I'll take a look at your channel and see what's up. Yeah, I've been streaming a lot of game development that I've been working on here, and I've found it actually really helps a lot, like, to do streaming and work on stuff, because, you know, I'm full-time working from home. I don't have like another job or something. This is my job, and I find it really helps to just kind of keep you on task, keep you honest. Like, if you know somebody's watching, you can't just like pull up Reddit on your other tab and just be like, I'm working. I'm just gonna, you know, pull up Netflix here, and I'm just gonna pull up Netflix and pretend I'm doing things, and just zone out. And then you're like, you know, it's 6 o'clock. I think I've done enough work for today. And then you know, half a year goes by, and you're like, what the hell have I been doing with my life? I'm like, oh yeah, I've been sitting in a chair in my basement. That's what I've been doing. Where did it all go wrong? Yes, all the constructive feedback. Alright, so what was the piece of geometry that we were using before? I think we're using this geoplane before, I think, which has 2 triangles and 2 verts and all that. I'm actually going to copy it in here and see if maybe the Unreal plane that they give us is kind of trash. Because I think I was using this one before and I was having problems with just some basic stuff. So let's grab our geoplane, throw it on there. Oh god, what have we done? Alright, let's see how that goes. Did that not change anything? Oh, I guess I'm an idiot. Yeah, this mesh appears to have the same sort of issues. Did something happen here? That, like... where, or maybe I just wasn't looking at the water before, and the shadow stuff wasn't really affecting my eyes because I was busy looking at stuff like this, and I wasn't looking at the kind of the reflection capture. So let's see, this planar reflection. Have I used any other engines? Well, I worked at Amazon for a couple years and all that, so so I've worked a little bit with stuff like, you know, Lumberyard and all that. The other engines I've worked with, I've worked a little bit with Unity. But I'm classically not a gameplay developer, I'm a server developer. So pretty much all my experience has been working with stuff like building the backends for online games. So for instance, you know, I would be messing around with stuff like, you know, on a game, like we made a game we're working on a game very similar to Overwatch, which is probably why Blizzard didn't fund us when we went to go get them down in San Diego for years. And we were using Unreal 4 for that, but I didn't really use Unreal 4 when we were working with it because I was busy building the servers. So like, you know, people would come to me and I would write the server that did the online chat or the server that did you know, matchmaking or e-commerce, or, you know, I wrote like the patcher, things like that, where I made the game work, or I'd make the crash collection and telemetry systems and everything, which is really cool, complicated stuff, but it's not gameplay. Gameplay is a lot, I think, less. I think gameplay programming is a lot more thankless. It's pretty funny. Okay, I think it's just my eyes messing with me, and it's just the shadow map stuff because the sun is pretty much parallel, and we're just gonna have to deal with that. I don't think there's anything we can really do. Alright, so we got our water. Let's make sure we got it all saved. So, what are we going to do with this thing? We're going to start working on it. We got to get focused. Well, it looks like we got our quality settings back. I must have enough people watching consistently. I need more caffeine, that's what's going on. So let's see, if we're going to be working on this water, let's start thinking, what are some things that we need, some actual tasks that we need to think about? We're going to want, we want a button in the editor to generate the the height map / flow field stuff on demand. We want to hook into the build process to generate the height map / flow field textures. We need to store those textures somewhere. So we need to, like, how do we do this? It'd be nice to be able to preview. I want to be able to view the different textures that we have. So that's going to be the flow field, height map, dynamic flow field, obstacle, influence map. Alright, so, well, where in the editor, yeah, I can speak English. A button in the editor to do this. I think, does anybody have a button in there that we can look at? Or why don't we just Google it real quick? How to add button in editor to call blueprint function. How to call a blueprint function from the editor. First time question. You could search Blutility. This allows buttons in the actor panel to call things. So you can have something like that, but it requires change to the engine source. It's only a couple lines. So what is this? Great, so they I am not seeing a good way to do this. Running blueprint functions. You can have something like that. It requires a change to this sort of stuff. It might be ideal. Bit of run logic. Well, let's go take a look at, if it's not super straightforward on how to do this, is there something that actually already does this? I think the scene capture 2D object, doesn't it have like a little button in it? No. It was something else, wasn't it? Like a reflection? Like a sphere reflection thing? Yeah, it's got this update captures button. So let's just search the code base for that. It's got to be here somewhere. So, oh, I want a button that I can click to like regenerate height maps and stuff like that. You know, because it's something that might take a couple seconds and generate a texture. So basically, you know, like a little button inside of Unreal, kind of like this button has update captures that would call, you know, so you can like register a function. It's like callable from the editor, you know, nicely. So I'm looking at how these things actually work for some of the other things. It looks like reflection capture details. We have like customized details in the builder. Adds a custom row. Update captures with a widget which will then unclicked update reflection captures. Well, that's pretty crappy. Like, so in order, the way that they added it was they just added it directly to Slate on the customized details of the reflection capture details, which is inside of their editor detail customizations for the frickin' class. There it is. Okay, so it's just inside of the. It's just call an editor. Enable this event to be called from within. Alright, that's cool. Alright, that's all we have to do. Well, that's simple as hell. Alright, so construct dynamic flow field. Let's see, category. Why don't we just call this water? So if anybody is wondering, it's just this little call an editor tick box, which is pretty cool. I like that. So now we have our construct height map, construct static flow field. Alright, so we got that. Now we want to be able to hook into the build process. So let's see. Get called in blueprint during build of level Unreal. I'm not sure how this build works. Only updates reflection captures. Let's see how this works. Look it up. And I'm having to Google a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not really sure the terms that I need to Google for this, because it's like I want to be called during the build or something like this. Yeah, it's this build all levels interface. Level editor actions, alright. Editor, build geometry. Let's kind of follow this in and see where it goes. So we got this editor build, and we have got this build geometry, and we've got the world and all that. Stop the rendering thread, and this build type geometry is hooked in with like all this crap. And is this calling the command line? So they have like a map rebuild command somewhere that actually does the exec. And this is all just hard coded in here. So if we wanted to add something in this build process, we'd probably have an issue with that. I got the buttons that I can click on. I'm looking if there's a way to basically, for this asset, if we checked it in and had our build machine actually run and build it, I'd like it to make sure to actually build the height maps and all that stuff. So if you check in something but forget to click the update button, like if you moved a rock or something and it changed something here, you know, the build process wouldn't care. It would go ahead and regenerate all this crap for you when it loaded up. So I think that already happens with part of the build and like asset cooking process. Have you looked in the project settings? Well, you could take a look. I mean, I'm not really sure where I would look for adding to a build. I mean, there's like cooking, but these are just like exclude or include from cooking. No, I don't see anything in here for any of this stuff. I mean, I can always just have it do some stuff itself. I can always customize the build process. It's just that there's something already here that I can hook into that gets called. No, it doesn't look like it. Alright, so that's something we're gonna have to look for, because you know, packing and all that stuff is just what it's got. Well, we can just go look at the cook process and all that, or we can just look at this process here, because it looks like the editor build utils stuff does actually do this. I just want to see where the editor build is called from in the whole project, because it could be that this editor build utils, we could just, you know, add some custom code in here. Alright, so they've got all these build executes and all this stuff. Let's see, editor build utils gets called editor automated build and submit. Editor build utils, editor build. Handle build lighting command. Editor build lighting. Handle paths command. Build paths command? This is inside of the Unreal Ed service. Let's go take a look at the build process real quick. Alright, running UE editor cook for project. We do these cooks. This does Dashkin project run cook target platform file open crash for UAT. Sorry, I'm gonna go through build logs and garbage stuff right now. It's not super interesting. Let's work. So, building assets 4. So that might be something we can go look for. So I'm just grabbing some strings to search the code base to figure out where the cook is, because I have no idea where any of this stuff is. So we have cook on the fly server is what gets called during the cook process for shipping build. And what is it doing? We call clean sandbox. Alright, so we have start cook by the book. Alright, cook by the book, startup options. So what does it do when it cooks? It does running, cancel, all this sort of stuff. Convert relative to tab for tabs. It's going to go through a whole bunch of stuff. Doesn't look like we rebuild like anything. I think it's just cooking assets. Alright. So let's see where this is actually called. This is cook on the fly server exec.